$80 games, they're coming. I think we will see the change to that at some point from PlayStation, from Xbox, from pretty much everyone. You saw Nintendo kick it off with the raise of the prices of their games, but Xbox tried to get in there after Nintendo did it and just kind of fly under the radar. And it obviously did not work as they went back and reversed their decision. They were going to raise the price of the holiday season games to $80. And one of those big games was going to be the Outer Worlds 2. I think they looked at the reaction. They probably looked at pre-orders. I don't know how well the Outer Worlds 2 actually did in terms of sales. And then they went ahead and they reversed that decision. But Matt Booty explains why Xbox actually did ditch their $80 price tag for the Outer Worlds 2 as well as other games. And he says this: our whole focus is on delivering player satisfaction and delivering player value. And we're always going to be listening to what people want there. We've reacted in the last year. And I think for us, the real focus is going to be, I'll come back to the phrase meeting people where they are. I think there's going to be less of a focus on what's that top line price of a game as people start to engage in different ways with games. From our point of view, monetization just happens in so many different ways right now. So we're going to continue to listen to the feedback from fans. We're going to continue to balance that with needing to run the healthy business. But right now, on the content side, we don't have any pricing updates. So basically just saying, yeah, they make money in multiple different ways: microtransactions, DLC, roadmap, season passes, or whatever they're called. They make money in all of those ways after they do release a game. Sometimes it's not always the best strategy to release the final price of the game, that extra $10, because you could get a lot of pushback. And then if you don't get people in the door initially because you're coming out with a stupid price, then you miss out on potentially making more money off of those customers once they've already purchased the game through the smaller transactions within that game itself. And I'm sure they look at that. The $80 move from Xbox when they did it was not smart. It was a stupid move. I think they were kind of trying to piggyback off of Nintendo and realizing that they had made that move. So now that was a signal, maybe, but obviously pushback was there from the community. And then pre-orders, I feel like, weren't there for the Outer Worlds too. So they had to go back on the price stuff. Will we see that change in 2026? This is the fear, because they are releasing some big titles, some big hitters that I think sell regardless of the price. I think at 80 or $70, they'll still have decent sales for some of those games that they are putting out. Like Forza Horizon 6, if they put that out at $80, I'm sure that game will still be a top seller across platforms. And if they see that, maybe they start testing out the pricing, or which they may also do is they may wait until PlayStation does it, because I think at some point PlayStation is going to raise their prices to $80 as well, unfortunately. Now, the decisions at Xbox, who's making those decisions, who's making the decisions to raise prices, it could be changing a little bit here, as there is some Xbox leadership changing that is happening here in 2026. The current CFO, Tim Stewart, is transitioning to the COO of ZeniMax Media, and Xavier Porkorzinski is stepping down into the role of Microsoft Gaming CFO. And I feel like Tim Stewart would be that guy who's choosing, yeah, we're going to raise the prices. These are the financials. Here's where we're going. Maybe this new person isn't as keen on that and looks at different things, and some different decisions will be made. But this is the change here. Tim Stewart, chief financial officer, going into the chief operating officer at ZeniMax, responsible for Bethesda Softworks published titles such as Doom, The Elder Scrolls, and Fallout. And then you have Xavier here, who is currently works as the corporate vice president of Microsoft Gaming, and he is stepping into the role of where Tim Stewart was, which was the CFO of Microsoft Gaming. So we'll see why that's happening. Is there going to be sweeping changes when this new person does come in? We've heard about the whole 30% accountability margin. However, I mean, we don't actually know how that 30% accountability margin is spread out across all of Xbox. And I feel like a lot of the discussion on that has been pretty disingenuous, because unless you know how it's actually applied internally, then you don't fully know what that means for Xbox. Like, what games are they putting that on? What studios? I don't think it goes a blanket across the board, but we'll see if there's any changes here from Xavier as he does end up stepping in. All right, next up, let's talk Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is always a hot topic, especially this year's with Black Ops 7. From the numbers that we are seeing, it is a fall off from Black Ops 6. But if you compare Call of Duty Black Ops 7 to the wider gaming market, it's still probably very successful, and a lot of games will like to achieve those numbers. But in the Call of Duty universe, it's not doing as well as they would have liked it to do. And it's not that shocking. This is another Black Ops game consecutively. Even myself, when they announced that it was Black Ops 7, I was not as excited as if we were going to get something different in a different universe because we just got Black Ops. But I do think Black Ops 7 overall is a good game with great multiplayer and great zombies. And so does Xbox, but they're also looking at this game and thinking of ways to improve upon the Call of Duty franchise going forward with really nothing off of the table. And I think that is a good thing. I think that it is a good thing that Xbox will hold Activision and Call of Duty accountable, which you would hope will help make this game better in the long run. But we have this report here from the Ghost of Hope. And it says here, report Microsoft believes Black Ops 7 is a good game, but the financial performance is below expectations, which were lowered last year after Black Ops 6 fell off a cliff. And with the state of the franchise overall, the pressure is now on Call of Duty to change its model. You have to ask yourself, what does that mean? My first thought would be, I would love to see them move to maybe a biannual release of this game and give the developers more time and just let these games last longer because they absolutely can. There's a lot of content in there. Black Ops 6 is still a great game. People are still playing it. They could absolutely make these games last longer than a single year. It says Microsoft wants to see Call of Duty overall move towards a smoother revenue stream and a reduced expenditure pattern. And Microsoft has also supposedly told higher ups within Call of Duty that changes are very much required and nothing is off the table, including studio mergers. And they have a ton of studios, so that wouldn't be shocking. And a complete rethink of monetization models within the franchise. So that's big news. I mean, they have to continue to move forward with this franchise. When you are the top selling game every year, when you're the number one numbers, player engagement, everything like that, microtransactions, all of that stuff, that line still needs to go up the next year. And Black Ops 6 had a record release, had a record year, then player numbers fell off, but they probably made so much money within that first release time frame that it's very hard to match that. Player numbers are going to fall off on Black Ops 7 too, so it is going to get worse for this game from the financial perspective, but the game is still successful. I mean, it's still successful in the grand scheme of the video game market. We even have the weekly active user engagement numbers here for the week ending December 6th. Call of Duty has moved down to number 2. Fortnite is number 1. Last week it was number 1. And then down at number 6 is Battlefield 6, which is their main rival this year, which is arguably the better game. So, yes, Black Ops 7 is not doing nearly as well as Black Ops 6 did, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still doing good. And a lot of people are still playing it, but there will be changes. If that line doesn't go up, if they're not making the money they need to make, there will be changes. And it's good that Xbox goes in there and holds them accountable. And maybe we get an overall better product. My biggest thing here is with the next game coming out here, Modern Warfare 4, will there be a big jump back up and the player numbers go back up, the sales go back up, whereas more at the Black Ops 6 numbers? We don't know yet, but we do have some information here for Modern Warfare 4. This comes via Ghost of Hope, Modern Warzone. This is just a rumor right now. And they say Modern Warfare 4 has a ton of visual recoil on weapons, and in its current state is reportedly a complete copy of Modern Warfare 2, except for no perk charging system and less ADS/slide penalties. And MW4's Infinity Ward's next Call of Duty coming in 2026. So that's where they're going next year. My biggest question right now, they're saying it's in the same state as Modern Warfare 2. I'm sure there will be changes between now and the time this game does release. But my biggest question is if this game is not going to be on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, will there be big engine changes? Will we see a next generational leap, a next generational jump finally this generation for Call of Duty if they get off of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4? I think that will be huge. I think that always is big for these games that do release every year when they're stopped being held back by having to put development time and resources into the last generation that is now very old. You could see a jump. Maybe not Modern Warfare 4, but the one after that, there should be if the game, of course, is not on Xbox One or PS4. So we'll see how this game does do. There are definitely things that can be changed here where it's just longer. You get to play these games longer, more content comes out, and maybe they're considering that. Maybe they're just considering more content drops for a longer period of time between the releases of every Call of Duty game. Right, a couple of other things here.